Hello, and welcome to Seeking Heaven, the Near-Death Experience and Other Phenomena. Today, we have the SAI, Spiritual Awakenings International Speaker Spotlight, and today we have the founders of Spiritual Awakenings International. So I wanted to bring them on because one of our founders has to leave in just a little bit. So let me go ahead and bring Dr. Yvonne Kason and Robert Bear. Welcome.
Thank you.
So tell us real quick, I know Robert doesn't have a lot of time, but we're so lucky to have him today. I just wanted to, the first thing is, how was this formed? Because what attracted me about Spiritual Awakenings International is the fact you cover not just near-death experiences, but you go into what are the different types of spiritual transformative experiences, Kundalini, out of body. There's just such a vast topic that you cover so many things. So tell me how it was formed and how you two met.
I guess I'll go first.
Okay.
We were both in Sarasota, Florida in February of 2019. And we were, maybe it was, 2019. And we were both board members for the IANDS organization, and that's when we first met, and we didn't interact much until probably around July, somewhere around that time period. Yvonne, Dr. Kason, was nominated to run for president for the board of directors, and I had been nominated for vice president, and she called me one day, and we hadn't really talked much at all, other than to say hello to one another. And she asked me if I would want to consider running as a slate president and vice president for IANDS. And I thought about it, and then I immediately thought, this is a good idea. So we talked about our values. We put together a platform, and I think our vision was vastly different than what the organization wanted. They weren't comfortable with it. And so we went and had a couple other discussions. And during one discussion, I had this download that I told her, I said, Yvonne, I think we're supposed to be doing something else.
Right.
I just had a download. And the next day, she coined the name of the organization we're supposed to start, which is Spiritual Awakenings International. I was blown away, but we put it on the back burner because we ran for office and we were subsequently elected to those positions. And it just started to evolve, and I'm going to let her finish off.
Okay. No, that sounds great. I know you've got somewhere else you've got to go. I'm just so happy that you could just say hey and be here, and we'll be chatting with you some more. Sure. Throughout, we were going to be doing these monthly speaker spotlights. So, look, I love what you've done. I love the speakers coming up, and we'll talk about that with Dr. Kason. So thank you so much for being here, and we will talk to you soon.
Okay. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay. All right. So, so tell us, Dr. Kason, how did it from there? So you were on the board for a while, and then at some point you said, let's do this.
Okay. Yeah. So the part Robert didn't say, I mean, he's a multiple NDE experiencer and multiple STE experiencer, and I am also a multiple NDE experiencer and multiple STE experiencer. So we're both very spiritual, but we're also both very intuitive. And so we often will get higher guidance, or what Robert will call downloads. And so he got the download first that, hey, Yvonne, our vision for, both of us were talking about a vision of an organization that would embrace all the different types of spiritually transformative people, pardon my tongue twisting, spiritually transformative experiences that people are having today. You know, the diverse types of things, you know, all types of mystical experiences, all types of psychic awakenings, you know, out of body experiences, transdimensional experiences, mediumistic experiences, past life recall, you know, in addition to near-death experiences and Kundalini awakenings and inspired creativity downloads, which we're talking about, and that we also felt the need that it was time on the planet to bring people together, you know, to reach out to other little groups and organizations around the world and individuals around the world who are interested in these diverse types of spiritual awakenings or having these awakenings, because it's a global phenomenon that we wanted. So that was our vision, a much broader focus, and also one of bringing people together in a non-dogmatic way. You know, we're learning from each other and we're supporting each other. And finally, to be a safe harbor for experiencers, that we are both experiencers. So we know firsthand how difficult it is for experiencers to find a safe place where they feel safe to talk about these experiences, where they're not going to be judged as crazy or hallucinating or you're imagining things. And the part that Robert left out was when I came up with the name the next day is when I got a download myself. So he got a download. That's right. He got a download saying that we're supposed to be together, being president and vice president of another organization with this broader focus that we both envision. Yes. And then the next day when I meditated on it, I got the download. Yes. And you will call the organization Spiritual Awakenings International. And so
it's international already in such a short time.
It is 42 countries around the world, every continent but Antarctica. We've got subscribers, so we're absolutely delighted. We're waiting for those penguins to sign up. But you know, so we did our some time as president and vice president of IANDS, but it became clear that was not where we were meant to be. And we decided on March 27th of 2020 to resign from those positions, having done them for several months to the best of our capacity, and to move on. And so we did. And then we immediately started talking about when we would launch Spiritual Awakenings International. We could do it in a year, we could do it in 2 years, but then I got another download from Spirit. Nope, June 15th, 2020. So SAI is a pandemic baby. That's what I call it.
You know,
we were born in the pandemic. And I guess the good Lord knew that it was needed. And now was the perfect time because everybody's online. And what a great time to launch an online network.
Absolutely. Well, you know, the same thing. I got a download about the Seeking Heaven channel doing this, and I was like, really? Okay. But it really is. And I think that's how, you know, we met as, you know, I asked if you'd be a speaker, and then I got to know you and what, you know, SAI, what the organization was all about. That just naturally just kind of came out. And I was like, wow, that's exactly what I'm interested in, because the topic is so much bigger than near-death experiences. It covers so much, and people have so many questions like, what is an out-of-body? What is remote viewing?
Mm-hmm.
What is a spiritual emergency, which you had someone recently, a speaker on Spiritual Awakenings International. You have that once a month, mid-month,
mm-hmm.
and you had a speaker that actually discussed, a Brazilian spiritist that discussed what is a spiritual emergency. You don't hear that from everywhere.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm. And we're exploring all sorts of things. And as we mentioned, Kundalini Awakenings, near-death experiences. We're even having one of the world foremost UFO experts on in April, you know, because many people who have the UFO encounters, they're having a spiritual awakening related to it. So why is it? You know, there seems to be a connection between these diverse experiences. It's a transdimensional experience, by the way, my friends. So that's why.
Well, you know, to my surprise, like a few months ago, I came across someone that that was from the Australia area that said that it was an experiencer, a near-death experiencer, and also a UFO experiencer, and said there is a common thing between the two. It can be. And I said, really? So that was a whole different area to look at. And why limit it just to that when there's so much? We are multi-complex. We are multidimensional beings.
Oh yeah, and then another area that is like so common is past life recall. I mean, there are so many people that are opening up to remembering past lives, maybe because they meet somebody that it seems they've known from a past life, or they go somewhere and all of a sudden they remember having lived there before in a previous incarnation. And so this is all part of what Spiritual Awakenings International looks at. It's an umbrella organization, a safe harbor where all these experiencers can feel safe to learn more about these experiences, but also it's an opportunity to raise awareness, because all of the experiences ultimately, they bring people to the same sort of realization over time, which is that we're much more than a physical body. That we are spirits, we are souls that are living inside a physical body, just like we put on clothes in the morning. We're not the clothes, we're inside the clothes, right? We're the life inside of the clothes. And that when our physical body dies, it is like shedding clothes. We're still alive. Our spirit lives on, we reincarnate, and that we are truly spiritual beings, and that the higher power is not a theory. The higher power is real.
It's real, very
and
real.
So many people having spiritually transformative experiences, or what I call STEs for short, they come back, they realize God is real. Whatever we call it, Brahma, Allah, the Great Spirit, Nirvana, whatever name we put to it, the higher power, but it is real. And it is a loving, intelligent force underlying the universe that wants all of us to succeed in our school of life. You know,
I love it. School of life. That's what this is.
That's right.
Or school of hard knocks. You know, it's funny doing this spiritual path. You know, most of my whole life, because as you know, I'm a multiple NDE, which is why I was so attracted to your story and Robert Baer's story. Because that's something that's also not really talked about. They were like, you know, I've heard, you know, oh, they're all the same.
Well, they're not. They're not
the same, because I mean, it's layers and layers of complexity and eye-opening spiritual experiences with each one.
Yeah.
So I would have to disagree with that. And I was very interested, because I know that's a topic that you're also going to take up, but but I can say it's difficult being in this world, because sometimes the world is not always about love. And so I love the fact that you have a safe harbor for any truth seeker or an experiencer of any kind. And that's what attracted me, and that's why I set up the Seeking Heaven channels, because I'm a near-death experiencer and a multiple STE experience as well. And I want this to be a safe platform for people to really speak their mind and not edit it, and speak their heart, and know that it's okay, that all these experiences are very different and they're very personal, and quite honestly, to a lot of people, they're sacred.
Yes, indeed. And some people want to keep their experiences private and sacred, and that is, we absolutely honor that. And there are many experiences of my own that I too keep private and sacred. But there are other ones that you know, it's like something inside of you, you want to tell people, wow, you would believe what happened to me. And wow, God loves us. It's not, God is not some horrible, punitive man with a long beard sitting on a throne. That's not at all what I saw when I was in the white light. You know, I saw something different. I was very excited to share this with people after my first NDE. And, you know, it was really challenging to realize that people did not share my enthusiasm and did not want to listen to what I had to say. And some people even, you know, said that I made it up. You know, why would I make up something like that?
It's
that
so
completely changed
you don't even want to
my
talk
life.
about it.
That's right. So it's a place where experiencers can get validation from other experiencers, whether or not they even talk about it or not. Another thing that happens in I've written several books. My most recent is called Touched by the Light.
Absolutely.
And
I got it right here.
There we go. And in my book, I talk about, because I've been working as a medical doctor, counseling people who've had diverse types of STEs. And I've been doing that since 1990. I'm retired now, but for many years, that's what I was doing in my medical practice. And I have lots of stories in here, close to 100 case stories of people who've had various types of STEs, so that people can relate to it. But I think it's very important to people to have a name for what happened to them, because I find many people, they'll speak to me, they'll tell me their story. This is what happened to me, and then I'll say to them, "Oh, you had an out-of-body type of near-death experience." They go, "Oh, is that what that's called?" And then somebody else says, "Well, you won't believe what happened to me," and so they'll tell me blah blah blah, and I'll go, "Oh, that was a mediumistic experience, or that was an after-death communication," and then they're blown away and also validated to have a name to call their experience that is not like you're crazy or imagining it, but it's a name. Or they're clairvoyant. They're having a clairvoyant experience, or they're clairaudient, they're hearing higher guidance, or they're having past life recall. Just to get a name for what's happening to you. On our Spiritual Awakenings International website, I've put like a lot of the definitions of all these experiences.
Yeah, I love it.
And so a lot of people, when they read my book or they look at the website, they go, "Oh, that's what that's called. I never knew what it was."
Well, I had some eye openers, and I've been, I think I'd mentioned studying this whole spiritual topic really since 12 years old on. When I got into junior high, I just spent all the time in the library. That's back before they had, the internet and all of that. And would study Edgar Cayce or different, phenomena and so forth. And really, I'm completely passionate about spiritual growth with not only myself, but just for everybody, and really just embracing it. And there's so much there. When I read your book, I'll have to tell you, I personally thought it was, not to plug your book, but I am, because I really do believe in it. I think it's way up there with, it's groundbreaking, like the way Life After Life was with Dr. Raymond Moody. That's how important I think your book is, because you take it through chapters of different spiritual experiences, and then you give a case study with that, but your own story of your 5 NDEs, but the one where the big one, where you were, in the plane and it went down. I mean, your life should be a movie. You should really. Not all NDEs are excited. Sometimes they'll wake up and go, "Oh, I was having a tooth worked on, and boom, I'm over here in this white light." Maybe it's not. Well, maybe it's the feeling they get and they come back different. But yours is like pretty dramatic, but it could be a movie.
Yeah.
You should consider that sometime, because it's like, I'm like holding my chest going, "Oh my gosh, how's she going to swim that far? And how's she going to get out of this plane?" And it was, I was right there with you. But I love how you go through each thing. And the fact that not only are you an experiencer, a multiple near-death experiencers, STE, Spiritually Transformative Experiencer, which you coined that term.
Yeah.
And I love that. That's because that makes sense. There's a word for it now. There's a word for something. But the fact that you're an experiencer, but you're also a medical doctor, and you've had 40 years of research. So there's really not much that could slip by you or Robert. And so because of that, I find that you have a really quality level of speakers, and then your honorary circle. I wanted to mention real quick with people, I wanted to pull this slide up about, maybe you could mention about your speakers that are coming up. And
yeah, so once a month we have, and sometimes twice a month, we have speakers. Spiritual Awakenings International presents, and our next 2 speakers, I'm actually going to be doing a presentation on February 6th, which is not up here yet.
Yeah.
But following that, Dr. Jeffrey Long who is the founder of the NDE Research Foundation, which has done probably the largest study of near-death experiences ever reported. He's going to be presenting on February 20th on evidence of the afterlife. So spiritual evidence that he's compiled from so many thousands of near-death experiences that confirms that there is the afterlife. So that's going to be a fabulous talk. He is a member of our Spiritual Awakenings Circle of Honor for his groundbreaking work relating to near-death experiences. Then in March, we have another groundbreaker who is on our Spiritual Awakenings Circle of Honor speaking. It's Dr. Bonnie Greenwell. And she's going to be speaking, I believe it is March the 20th, yep. And her topic is going to be Kundalini Awakening and the shifts it makes in consciousness. And Dr. Bonnie Greenwell, she has been a pioneer in the field of Kundalini. She's written 4 books on Kundalini Awakening. And we're also delighted that she's on our Spiritual Awakenings International Advisory Board. So, and she's counseling people with Kundalini Awakenings from around the world to this day. And she is also an experiencer. So she's going to be giving a fabulous presentation in March.
Well, I wanted to mention 2 things. So first of all, for this part, the Spiritual Awakenings International speakers are generally mid-month on a Saturday. What is
The
it?
third Saturday of the month.
Third Saturday. To be a part of that, all you have to do is subscribe. It's free to go on the website, which is spiritualawakeningsinternational.org, and just fill out your information, your email, your name, and then you'll have access to be able to join these meetings. You just sign up for the ones that interest you, and tell us about the one February 6th, and I will have all the information below so they will know how to sign up for that. Tell us about February 6th, who it's for, what time it is, and what is going to be your topic for that day.
Okay. Yeah. So I've been invited to make a presentation to San Diego IANDS, and it's going to be on Saturday, February the 6th, online. Spiritual Awakenings International is co-hosting the presentation. So you can sign up for it through Spiritual Awakenings International on our website. Yeah.
Perfect. Okay.
And it's, of course, free. And so it's at 1:30 Pacific time is when it starts. So that's 4:30 in Eastern time for those of us that live in the Eastern time zone. And I'm going to be speaking about Kundalini and near-death experiences, exploring the links. Yeah. And, you know, I've been writing about this for many years now, since my first book on STEs, which came out in '94, about the possibility that there is a relationship between Kundalini Awakening and near-death experiences, that near-death experiences may awaken the Kundalini, so that people after their near-death experiences discover they're having Kundalini after effects. That's because, guess what? You awaken the Kundalini. And my Kundalini awakening happened when I was 23, when I was meditating. And my big plane crash near-death experience happened 3 years later when I was 26. So I wonder if, because I'd already had a Kundalini awakening before my white light NDE, is that part of the reason why I went so deep? You know, that I already had an awakened Kundalini, so I just went right up into the white light realm. So there seems to be a relationship, and many people have written about it and researched about it. And so I'm going to be talking about what is a Kundalini awakening, because probably many people listening are really not quite sure what that is. So I'm going to be talking about that, and then I'm going to be talking about the symptoms, and then I'll say what are the after effects, talk a bit about my own Kundalini awakening and what happened in me, what some of my after effects were, and then I'll compare that to what happens to people with a Kundalini awakening. And the parallels are really, really dramatic. Now, I just want to say that there are hints that people have known about a relationship between Kundalini and awakening and near-death experiences for actually thousands of years. That there's this ancient rite that used to happen in Egypt that some people might have heard of, when a prospective pharaoh would be locked in a tomb for a period of time. Now, what will happen if you're locked in a tomb as like an initiation, and you don't have oxygen? Well, a couple things could happen. One, you might die because for lack of oxygen, you might asphyxiate. But it's well known in ancient yogic traditions that on facing death, the Kundalini can awaken to protect the brain. That it's like this life force can awaken to protect the brain. And that then if someone lived through this initiation, it would seem to suggest something kept them alive. So perhaps the Kundalini awakened. And then if you look at this, the symbols of the pharaohs of Egypt, they often have a serpent coming out of their third eye. And this, according to ancient yogic traditions, is a classic depiction. They use the serpent to depict the Kundalini energy. So this would seem to suggest that they wanted somebody who'd awaken the Kundalini energy as their pharaoh. Now, why would they want that? Why would you want someone with an awakened Kundalini as your pharaoh? That's because of what happens to your brain and consciousness after you've had a Kundalini awakening. You start transforming. You start becoming more psychic. You become clairvoyant. You become clairaudient. Maybe you start channeling. Maybe you start becoming a medium. Maybe you start getting downloads. So it seemed that they knew that there's a method to some, and I'm not suggesting you go out and try and asphyxiate yourself to have a near-death experience.
No, not a good idea.
Awakening. But it's sort of strong evidence that, maybe they knew about this. Like, why else would they be asphyxiating their pharaoh candidates? It doesn't make any sense at all.
No, absolutely. And one of the things in your book that I really liked, you also compared, because people get hung up on terminology and words, is that you said Kundalini could also, some people describe it as a Holy Spirit experience. And I remember when I was 24, 23, something like this, and I went over to a friend's mother's house, and she apparently had gifts and whatever, and she had Holy Spirit and whatever. I'm like, well, I want this stuff. What is this? I want it. Okay. So I went over there, and she goes, what do we do? She goes, just pray and ask for it. I'm like, okay. And I didn't really expect anything, but instantly I was like, bam, I was open from my head chakra. And I, of course, began speaking a different language. I could not stop laughing. I was high for probably 2 days. It was really good.
Yeah.
But you were talking about also how people connect, whether it be from their root chakra or from their head chakra. And I've always, I guess in yoga, it's from the root chakra up. But when in your book, you said not necessarily.
Yeah, that's right.
And I've always connected from the top, like, boom, I'm there. And I was like, that really gave me a lot of comfort to know that.
Yeah.
And so many things gave me comfort, like, oh my gosh, that's a word for it. And that's how I connect. And I kind of gave myself permission, like, that's okay.
Yeah.
So you got to read Yvonne's book. It's fantastic. And what we'll do is we'll also put the information down for the February 6th, which is also on the site. And there are so many things that you're going to be doing, you and Robert, with the organization. And is there anything else you want to let everybody know before we close off? Just I want people to sign up, because this is really such a great opportunity, and you're making it free. I mean, you can't beat free.
We are committed to making all of our Spiritual Awakenings International events free, because we think this information has to be out there and accessible. And down the road, I mean, we do have to pay bills. Later on, we will eventually start asking people for donations, voluntary if they have some spare cash. But at this point, don't worry about it. Everything is for free. And we invite anybody. And if you can't make it, all of our events are recorded, and we post the recordings of all of our events on our website. And you can also then watch my upcoming event and other events for free once they're posted as videos on our website.
That sounds fantastic. And also, I want to thank you and let everybody know that I'm also an affiliate group. And that's one of the things that we discussed about having monthly. So check in with the Seeking Heaven channel. We're going to have monthly, just little snippets, just a little taste of what the speaker is going to be every month. So you can see, about the second week. I think we agree it'll be like the second Monday, or the third Monday before the Saturday presentation. So we will be introducing the speakers that will be on Spiritual Awakenings International. So I feel honored to be a part of that. This group has been so supportive and loving and just fascinating. The topics are fascinating. So guys, if you're interested in wanting to know what things are or what's going on with you or just want to, many people are searching for things now, and here is a platform to do it. So Dr. Yvonne Kason, I thank you so much for your time, and I'm so excited to see, my gosh, you've grown so much within 6 months, where this is going to go, because people are so excited about your organization.
Awesome.
Well, thank you so very much.
Okay. Thanks for having me, Tamara.
Bye-bye.
Bye.